Welcome, everyone. We're so happy you're here. My name is Kelly Baldwin Hyde. I'm an expert on the biodiversity and nature-based solutions team here at ICLEI Europe. And with a couple of my colleagues and Invest for Nature, we're so happy to welcome you to this second Innovation Lab. I'm just going to share my screen. Great. So, as I mentioned, this is our second Innovation Lab as part of the NATURANCE project. And we are building on the insights from the first lab, and we'll dive deeper into innovative financing mechanisms for nature-based solutions with a focus on private-public partnerships and a special emphasis on philanthropy today. So this lab will feature two real-world case studies from Poznan and Aarhus, offering practical examples of how cities are testing new approaches to financing green infrastructure, enhancing urban biodiversity, and so importantly, mobilizing that private sector engagement. So we're really excited to welcome the Volkswagen Foundation to today's lab as they collaborated with Poznan. So today's lab is really meant to be interactive and informal. So please feel free to write any questions in the chat, raise your hand when we open up for Q's and A's. We really want to hear from you, so please don't be shy. And so as a quick introduction, as I run through a few housekeeping things, I would love for all of you in attendance to introduce yourself in the chat. Your name, where you're joining us from, maybe where you're originally from, where you work, what your focus is, your favorite nature-based solution, whatever you would love to share with us. So, ICLEI, ICLEI, I wanted to give you a quick refresher for those of you who aren't familiar or just need a refresher. So we're a global network of more than 1,700 local and regional governments committed to sustainable urban development. We're active in over 100 countries, and we influence sustainability policy and drive local action for low emission, nature-based, equitable, and resilient development. Our members and teams of experts work together through peer exchange, partnerships, and capacity building to create systemic change for urban sustainability. Our members participate in ICLEI projects that support and enable them to achieve success in sustainable development. So one of our big focus areas is connecting these cities and facilitating the experience sharing so successes can be replicated. Now, this Innovation Lab is part of the NATURANCE project, which is a 3.5-year Horizon EU project, which is meant to examine the technical, financial, and operational feasibility and performance of solutions built on a combination of disaster risk financing, so that's often insurance, and nature-based solutions investments. So that could be private investment, like philanthropy, or even business investment. The project has established a network of networks by connecting existing major knowledge networks and fostering this cross-domain knowledge sharing, as well as a collaborative marketplace to try and develop these nature-based insurance and investment solutions. ICLEI is also really interested in developing a philanthropic network that is interested in supporting nature-based solutions in cities and regions. So you can see the second kind of tab here, we're in the Innovation Finance Labs, which is a really big part of the project. So these labs are places to experiment, learn, and bring together this cross-disciplinary expertise to create new products or services. Also, just to build capacities. Key objectives for today. We will facilitate this continued exchange on opportunities and practical strategies to strengthen collaboration between public authorities and private financiers, explore innovative financial instruments and governance models to support scalable nature-based solutions. And we're going to do this through two fantastic case studies from Poznan and Aarhus. So Poznan, who will kick us off, They led a collaborative effort involving crowd planting and corporate sponsorship to support urban afforestation from the Volkswagen Foundation. And then Aarhus did a blended financing model combining public funds and private donations for multifunctional nature-based solutions, including coastal restoration initiatives. So that's it from me. Thanks so much for being here. My colleagues Lucia and Priscilla will monitor the chat, so please and with Nushka.
Yes, hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Agnieszka Dziwała and I represent a unit of interdisciplinary project in project coordination and urban regeneration office. Don't worry. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let me start with a quick introduction to the Invest for Nature project. So the project started in 2022 and will run until mid-2026. It is funded by the Horizon Europe program and brings together 15 partners from 11 European countries. Our main goal is to support the development of a market for nature-based solutions. And we do this by looking at the benefit and economic performance, helping to lay the groundwork for future investments in nature. Next slide, please. Thank you. And Invest for Nature is a research and innovation project focused on better understanding how nature-based solutions can benefit cities, not only environmentally, but also socially and economically. And this solution play a key role in tackling both of climate crisis and the loss of biodiversity. And one of our key contribution is to fill gaps in existing data, especially economic and social ones. And this will help, for sure, we believe, that it will help investors, cities, and policymakers make more informed decisions when implementing nature-based solutions. And the last slide, please. Yes, and this is our consortium. So the project works across different partners, mainly from universities and scientific researchers and research institutes, but also across 5 different ecosystems in Europe, in 5 different living labs. So this is the urban, rural, mountain, river, and coastal. And I would like to really quickly, just a quick snapshot of 2 living labs which we'll present today. It's the Aarhus, and in Aarhus, the nature-based solutions are mainly implemented in rural and suburban areas. And in Poznań, the living lab works in both urban and peri-urban spaces with strong focus on improving the accessibility to green spaces. Yeah, I hope this gives you a useful starting point for today's presentation. And I will start now with our case from Poznań. So I would like to share with you the story of an afforestation initiative we carried out in the city of Poznań. To start with, I would like to briefly introduce the context of landscape of Poznań to give you a clearer picture. So please, next slide. Yes, and Poznań has a really unique ecological structure shaped by so-called green wedges. It's a result of its natural features, historical development, and a network of river valleys. And these green wedges stretch along river corridors, both north and south and east-west, connecting to larger regional forests beyond the city limits. However, within the city center, as you can see, these green wedges become narrower and fragmented due to the dense development and infrastructure. And actually maintaining these green areas both in the city center and on the outskirts is essential for improving air quality, absorbing carbon dioxide, mitigating the urban heat island effect, and of course managing water more effectively. Please, next slide. And a few words now about the background and timeline of the project. Like many cities, Poznań also faces pressure to use land efficiently, which often results in changes to original land use plans. And until 2010, the area of Krzyżowniki, where this afforestation action took place, was used as a forestry nursery with production ceasing around 2005. And after that, the site was designed for a professional golf course. And the city searched for an investor and until about 2019. But in the meantime, the land remained unused and gradually became degraded. And in 2019, the city changed the direction and decided to establish an urban forest on the site. Although the land was perfect for reforestation, there was no municipal budget allocated for this project at that time. And between 2020 and 2021, the Poznań Forestry Plant developed a plan to plant trees on 5 hectares in the city northwest, so on this Krzyżowniki and Smochowice district. However, the COVID-19, the pandemic shifted this municipal priorities then toward health and economic recovery. So yeah, the plans stopped for a while, but in June 2021, our project coordination office led the Connecting Nature Enterprise Summit as part of our previous project that we led. It was the Connecting Nature project under Horizon 2020 program. And actually the summit and this project didn't just highlight the nature-based solutions. It actually helped us spark this real action there. So thanks to our efforts to raise awareness among entrepreneurs and policymakers, the topic gained traction, let's say. And as a result, within the project, the idea of allocating land for this new urban forest was acknowledged, and Poznań began working with 2 companies, Reforest Action from France and Green Up from Poland. And now next slide, please. What is the Reforest Action? So this is a certified B Corporation from France, which means that it meets really high standards for social and environmental impact. And their model is based on crowd planting, so gathering and pooling funds for plant trees. And actually they've planted like about 12 million trees across 35 countries in collaboration with companies and local communities. And at the time, they were looking for local governments that had land already designed for afforestation in Central and Northern Europe to support, of course, they planting campaigns. And next slide, please. Yes, and when it comes to the partnership model, so it was the proposal for trilateral cooperation, address key challenges we encounter in aerial public-private partnerships. So yeah, public administration actually often face legal barriers to sponsoring private ventures, while donations alone aren't always attractive to businesses. So we developed a model involving at least 3 parties, each contributing based on their capacities, financially and organizationally. So in the end, the partners were, as I mentioned, Reforest Action from France as the investor, Green Up from Poland. It was the project leader responsible for planting, and City of Poznań, so the landowner responsible for maintenance, represented by Poznań Forestry Plant, and our office, project coordination office from Poznań City Hall, also as a meritoric coordinator of the whole process. And what I want to say here is that one of the key conditions for this successful collaboration with an external investor was having pre-designed land. And in our case, this was the Krzyżowniki-Smochowice area. And importantly, the administrative procedures for this land were already underway before finalizing the partnership. So yeah, this proactive approach allowed us to begin planting almost immediately after signing the agreement, immediately after this Connecting Nature Enterprise Summit. And of course, when it comes to Poland, timing, as other like in other European countries, the timing matters because in our case, there are only two optimal tree planting periods. It's like spring and autumn, so it was like perfectly matched there. And please, next slide. A couple of words about the results. We actually we planted like about 58,000 trees, including oak, linden, cherry, sycamore, and rowan trees. It created like a 10 hectare of urban forest in November 2021 and April to April 2022. And the first planting event involved local residents, including neighbors, students, scouts, along with representatives of city and district authorities like district council. And the second phase included both planting and monitoring of the previously planted trees. And the last two slides, I would like to show you some photos of this process. So here, yeah, thank you. So here, this is the process when it started in 2021. It was the first phase, the first meeting of planting with our representative, with our mayor, with neighbors, with stakeholders around this project. And the next slide is it's the last slide. It's the update. It's the fresh photos, the most current photos. It is the 2025. As you can see, more plantings are on the spot, and as we see here. Of course, also the plant forestry also maintained this place. Yeah, and in the next slide, it's the last slide. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer your questions.
Just a second, please. We are having some issues with the microphone of Kelly. Yeah. So we can move forward with Monica from the Volkswagen Foundation. Thank you very much.
So hello everyone. If I can start, then thank you for the invitation. I will tell you a few words about our afforestation projects. I'm coming from Poland, from Volkswagen Poznań, and maybe first a few words of our factory. If we can jump to the next slide, please. You will see the general information about our company. We have over 9,000 employees. We are situated in the area of Poznań. This is central Poland. Our company consists of 4 plants. We are our main duty is to build cars, but we also have a foundry, and we are in the region for over 30 years now. Our production figures from last year were over 270,000 vehicles. On the next slide, you will see some more details about Plant 1, where we have forest situated near the plant, which was very suitable for our action. In this plant, we've been producing transporter model till the end of last year, and caddy model vis-a-vis utility vehicles. Here over 5,000 employees are working. And if you go to the next slide, then you will see on the pictures that this plant 1 is situated or surrounded by forests. That's the green area that you can see near our premises are the forests that mostly belong to the Polish Forestry Organization. This is an organization with a long history dated from before the war, and they are a governmental organization that is responsible for forest or forestry management. And I think this word management is very important in this context, because we usually think only about planting trees, and we have in mind that these trees will be there forever. And if it is not a preservation area, then these forests will not be there forever. They need to be carefully managed, because as we know, the most effective absorption of CO2 by trees is within their growing up period, and after 70 or 80 years. This forest, if it's not a preservation area, if it needs to be done, if it needs to be used, if we want to use the wood further, then we need to carefully plan how what we want to do with this forest. And this is why we have this opportunity to take part in this forest management. On the next slide, you will see the example of our actions. And that on the first, maybe we can start with this previous slide. Exactly. Yes, this one. We have a very good cooperation with this Polish forestry organization, and we've been working together for over 15 years now. And we usually organize 2 planting actions per year with participation of our employees. They do it voluntary, although they do it within working hours. Because the ground belongs to this Polish National Forestry, we have this direct contact to the owner of this land. And together we have estimated that we managed to plant about 150,000 trees in forests near our plant in Poznań and near our plant in Września. But as I said, this is due to careful forest management, because once you have to have in mind that this forest will not be forever, but you have to maintain it and you have to have a plan. And this is what this Polish forestry do, and we can participate and contribute to this. And on the next slide, you will see an example of a biodiversity or afforestation related project to the afforestation, which is actions with our employees to eradicate invasive plant species. So these actions do not only mean planting trees, but also take care of the trees or take care of the areas that the trees were planted. And these actions are always supervised by the workers of the Polish National Forestry. They always make like a kind of training for us. They explain why it is important, what kind of species we have. They explain the forest ecosystem. So this is also a way to improve like an environmental awareness for the people, for the employees. And just to let you know, of course, these are the actions outside the plant. We have our own separate policies for biodiversity on our premises within the fence of our factories. These actions that we seeing here are only examples of some actions that we do outside the factory. So that would be all from my side. Thank you very much, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Monica and Agnieszka. We do have a couple questions in the chat, and I will bring them up in just a second. But I have one question, overarching. How did you establish this relationship to begin with the Volkswagen Foundation in Poznan and the city, and come to this idea to do this project together?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because we are neighbors. The forests. The forest is our neighbors, and we have like a tradition of having like a dialogue with the stakeholders, and because they are one of the stakeholders, and so it was easy to reach them, and they were really very open to cooperation. And I think in their policy, they also have this this notion or this agreement that they should include some public or some private and public sector. So they were really very eager to establish this cooperation. And over the years, we can say that we made friends with some of them, because we meet regularly on these actions, and these are very nice voluntary events, because it's really even nicer to spend some time with your colleagues outside in the nature doing something good than to spend it in somehow. So this also has this motivational motivational approach, I can say.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any advice for other local governments that would like to start similar partnerships that have, for example, like nature-based solution projects that they just need funding or support for. What would your advice be for them?
I have to say that over the years, the society is deeply more and more interested in the actions, and more and more people start questioning afforestation actions, meaning that some of them they call it industrial forests. That they would rather buy IKEA furniture made from wood, but they do not think where this wood originates from. So they would like to have a green wood near their house, or live in the middle of the forest and just buy the things that they need from woods that are natural. They do not think where this is where this is coming from. So my advice would be to prepare carefully for these issues of forest management, because sooner or later somebody is going to tell you that this is an industrial forest and not a preservation area. Of course, nobody would let volunteers into the preservation area. This is the other aspect. But I think there is still a lot to be done in the awareness of people of where the wood is coming from, and how important it is to grow up this wood in a sustainable way under specific conditions by other organizations that have expertise to do this. So.
Okay. Agnieszka, do you have anything to add to that, like about how the relationship evolved and any advice you have for other cities that, want to establish a similar partnership around a nature-based solution?
Yeah, it's always the long process of that, and the crucial thing is to build a strong partnership and take the stakeholders into this process, but also they need to see some, intensives and motivations to that. I see that in our case, it was like I think it was easier and to establish this cooperation around this afforestation action, because actually the summit was like a starting point for that, and it was for us, we were lucky, let's say, because this company, Green Up, contacted with us after the summit, and this man proposed this agreement, and actually gave us the opportunity to step into this process. But of course, it is great to have also this land. Securing this land for this afforestation action, and it was in that exact case. But for sure, for success activity and for success project, for sure, we need to build a strong partnership, the strong relation between companies, between private sector and public sector, to do this properly.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll get to a couple of the questions in the chat. So one is, how did you optimize the selected areas for forest on your site?
Yes, I think it is, you mean the sites, the factory sites on the premises of the factory, or do you mean how we chose the area for afforestation outside the factory?
This question comes to us from Awais Neem Sarwar. I'm so sorry if I butchered your name. If you want to turn your camera on and unmute yourself, you could ask your question directly, so we know that we're addressing it exactly how you would like.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Can you hear me? Hello everyone. Yeah, my question was that outside, like how you optimize the area, like which place to start, and do you use some models or to evaluate where the soil permeability is more or where the soil strength is more better, like, or it's just random, you go out and start planting, like how does it work? Yeah.
No, because we are using the land that belongs to this Polish forestry organizations. They have a very detailed plans of where how the forest is where this it is situated by what kind of plants, what kind of trees, how old they should be, and how they should work together. So um, they tell us where we should gather and which is the site that we will be planting. And sometimes it also depends on the season and on the year. Sometimes they tell us that this season we don't have any free grounds for planting. And I think that your question is very good because I think everyone likes planting trees, and if you say go and plant trees, a lot of people will come. But the most difficult thing is to find the area, because then everyone knows that when you plant the trees, this area will be blocked. It will be blocked for investment, and in the cities, unfortunately, these areas are scarce.
Yeah, and that's what Agnieszka said as well, that was why part of the reason why they were able to get funded was because they had the space, right? They had this
Exactly.
area already determined. So that's something really important to keep in mind,
Exactly.
that you need to kind of come with the place, the space, and a full proposal. Thanks so much for that question. Etienne, do you want to ask your terrific question about long-term maintenance?
Yep. Yes, sorry. Yes, it's always the same question. So I know that the planting trees is one thing, and of course it can be successful. We've got plenty, I think, of example of a successful operation like this. But my question is more on the long-term maintenance. Or do you guarantee that who is doing what, and also what is the financial mechanism behind that?
So the financial mechanism is that we, as employees, we are giving our time, and the Polish forestry would have to pay to the external partners for planting the trees. So we are coming and we are doing it within our work time. And this is our contribution. So there is no financial in cash or in invoices. It's the time, but it's still the resource. And as far as the as the care of the forest and of the tree, this is the responsibility of this forestry organization. So of course, we are asking whether we can help with this invasive species, but this is just a tiny detail of all these activities that they do. We are in this position that we only help by the planting. This is like more of a fun for us and more of a like motivational event, but the whole management of this forest belongs to this organization. That's the fact, right? Because your question is directed in the way that yes, it's very easy to plant a tree, but who is going to take care of the area, right? For the next years.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Do we have any other questions for Poznan? Well, if you think of them. Oh, great, Laura.
Sorry.
Great.
Yes, actually, I would like to know a little bit more about also kind of like in the direction of Etienne's questions, but in the case of Poznan, how this maintenance of these areas that are being planted, and also the like you mentioned some key species also that are kind of like a long term, like slow growing, like the oaks, for example. Um, how is this maintenance? So, because normally, like we've seen cases in other places that uh, these areas are replanted, but then the maintenance is quite challenging, especially with these species that are that require to be require a long time to be mature for being independent. So I would like to know a little bit more, and also um, how was this partnership built, and what was kind of like the key aspects that, for example, changed the mindset for certain stakeholders. As for example, we are in NATURANCE as well, building this network of knowledge network. So it would be nice and interesting for us to know how did you manage to build this partnership as well. But thank you all for both presentations so far. It's very exciting to hear your experiences.
So maybe I will jump for a minute to answer this question. So when it comes to the species of the trees, yeah, as I mentioned, it's like for the planting for the plants, the Reforest Action and Green Up was responsible. And now for the maintenance, for the caring of the trees, the responsibility is of the Poznani forestry plant site. And it's within the municipal budgetary unit. So they need to secure money for 30 years. If I remember well, for the 30 years, they need to secure money in our municipal budget for maintaining the streets. I need to admit that I wasn't directly involved in the optimization process and in audit process and the project, but for sure I think that 30 years maybe it's not too long, but I think it's efficient time to create this major tree in this place. And your second question was about the building of partnership. You know, as I mentioned, because our case, it's really interesting because, you know, it's everything is about the law and organizational structure and our procedure which we follow with, and this is why we build this trilateral cooperation, because for us the donation and the sponsoring, it's not, how to say, it's not allowed because this cash flow this cash flow is blocked on our side. So this is why the Reforest Action provide the money to the Green Up, and the Green Up company from Poland like bought this plant, and we get the source to do this planting in our city, in this area of Krzyżowniki and Smochowice. So this is why this trilateral agreement gave us the opportunity to make this Reforest Action there.
Great, thank you.
That's great. And I'm just going to put a open question that, you know, we can come to after we hear from Aarhus, just about barriers to implementation and securing funding, which we've heard, you know, described now. So for those of you in the room, what are some other barriers that you have come across, or that you even anticipate, or what's stopping you from trying to develop a partnership like this, or what has, you know, kind of stood in your way? So just gonna press send there, and then Lona and Meta, we will, let me share your slides. Great.
Yes, hi, I'm Lone. I'm Meta. And I'll start, and Meta will take over later. My name is Lone Telling, and I work in the municipality of Aarhus in Denmark. My main task is to manage partnerships with external stakeholders that co-finance NDS in the municipality. On the map, you can see where Aarhus is situated. It's the second largest city in Denmark, 300,000 inhabitants, and is situated on the eastern coast of Jutland. And even though that we are a municipality with a big city, we still have a lot of rural areas and a lot of farmland. And you please change slides. As a part of our climate strategy and our nature strategy, we have a goal of reducing the farming area from 52% to 33% and create more forest and nature. We use this conversion from farming to nature as a nature-based solution that can both secure our drinking water, create more nature, better recreational opportunities for the citizens, store some carbon, and enhance the water quality in our streams and in the Bay of Aarhus. So the focus in this is multifunctionality. Therefore, we are appointing big areas to be converted to forest and nature in the coming master plan for Aarhus municipality. You can see them on the map on the left. We call them water and nature parks, and the goal is a funding of this transition that relies on our water utility company, which pays 50% of the land price. Our own nature fund pays 25%, and then the last 25% relies on partnerships with external stakeholders. It's important to say also that in these areas, it is not allowed to build residential areas, no development, no urban development, and no technical installations, so no solar energy. These two things are key points, as it keeps the price of the land at the right place and not with expectations of a land price for example, building houses, which is much higher. The next slide, please. So through the last 5 to 7 years, we've established partnerships to co-finance our afforestation projects. We have partnerships with a national foundation called Climate Forest Foundation. We have partnerships with private organizations like Growing Trees Network and Plant a Tree. And all three of them canalize funding from private companies that want to donate funding into making new forests. You can see the companies as circles on the figure at the left. Some of the companies are local and some are not. Furthermore, we have partnerships with the Danish Nature Agency, a national institution, and with a private company called Hedeselskabet, who buy up land to plant new forest. We also have one partnership with a private donor, a company who donates into nature projects in the Bay of Aarhus. On the map at the right, you can see the different afforestation projects in the municipality of Aarhus. And as you see, quite a bit of the municipality is covered by the city, but still there's a lot of rural areas as well. Next slide, please. Here you see some pictures from events we make together with the companies who donate into the projects. On the right, you see a drone photo of one of our forestation projects. When we make new forests, it's only around half of the area that we actually plant with trees. The rest is either ponds or streams or light open nature to create the most possible habitats in the area. We call it forest landscape instead of forest. And I recognize the discussion you mentioned, Monica, with the production of trees. But our main goal of these forests is because they are peri-urban. There's so many citizens so close. So there's a lot of expectations of recreational and biodiversity goals to be reached in these areas. That's not to say that it's not crucial that we also have production forests, but it's not what the focus is on in these forests. When we're talking about donations from private companies, I'll try and start with how much do they pay? When we started out, the companies only donated the trees to the projects, which was around 10% of the total costs of acquiring land and creating the forest. This model is more or less phased out and has been taken over by the before-mentioned model, where partners pay 25% of the total costs. So that was the how much. The how, the companies find the funding is part of their storytelling to the customers. Some add it on the ticket price. That's a festival, a local festival. Another company is selling wooden office furniture. They plant a tree per wooden table they sell. Others is trees per new customer. And the last example is a national crowdfunding, where a TV event called Denmark is planting trees, collected money to plant more trees in all over Denmark. So the how they gather the funds, the private companies, is different according to their production and what they do. The why the companies does it is a variety of reasons. Of course, as a part of the CSRD profiling, or it is to attract new employees, or simply to do good with no profiling attached, or as an employee activity, as you mentioned, Monica. That's often when a company donates into a new forest, they come and we have activities planting trees, and it's always very nice and popular. And an example of that is where a company donated a new forest focusing on forest bathing, and afterwards they planted another forest close to their main office to be able to invite the employees on a forest bathing and planting event. So that's very much in line of what you did, Monica. So the next step in our work in Aarhus is to explore how to make NBS into investments objects. We've had good experiences during the last years in working with our partners and the private sector, but with the focus on donations. And we only have one partnership which is based on investment, and that's the private company who buys up farmland to convert it into forest, and then they sell the carbon credits. For them, as a company, it's a long-term investment with a low return of interest. And that's the thing with nature. It takes time, and a lot of the benefits are outside the financial system, which is why we are so happy to be a part of the Invest for Nature, because it focuses on putting a price on the benefits from NBS. So now my colleague Mette will take over and tell a bit about our dialogue with banks and our next step in our investigation on how to change from donations into NBS investments.
Thank you, Lone. My name is Mette Holm, and could you go one slide back, Kelly, please? Can you go one slide back? I don't know who. Kelly? Can you go one slide back, please? Okay, yeah. I just wanted to make just to have a few words about. Yes, it's okay. About the coastal. Just to say that I'm as partner with Lone in Invest for Nature. And also in Blossom, that is kind of the next step, you can say, where we'll work on with the banks. I'll talk to you about that for a little while, where we are talking about bankability. So that's an interesting Horizon project as well. And then I also have like a toe in the seawater, you could say. It's not a duty for municipalities, but 7 mayors have made a collaboration. And in that collaboration, if we look at known as the how, there is actually one you can call just a bulk donation. So we have a power company, NRGI, that puts money into a stone reef in Aarhus municipality and into eelgrass planting with employees. They want to have employees in helping with the planting. We've just had high school pupils helping with some plantings. That's north of Aarhus. In the south of Aarhus, there's they've made a Christmas donation. DS Smith, a huge packaging company, who instead of giving their instead of giving their customers presents for Christmas, they've let them choose between 3 different donations, and one of them is a stone wreath south of Aarhus. Just to say just a few words about the coastal. And now please change the slide. Now I want to talk a little bit about the next, you could say, collaboration that we didn't see coming, I would say, because we were thinking about the ESG, the green taxonomy, the CSRD. How can we make that a help for companies to donate? Especially the E was the one we thought about, but later on we found out that the social part is just as important with the recreative part, for instance, and health with the nature-based solutions. And governance is as important as ever. The leadership of, for instance, private companies as the VW. Yeah. So what we found out in researching that was that actually the financial sector are going to be the first movers. So they have a pivotal role in doing going first with the Green Deal or the Green Taxonomy from the EU. So we figured it was quite important to get talk to them. And that means that we have a really good contact with a couple of banks and auditors, accountants. We've been trying to get in touch with insurance companies. They're a little bit more evasive, but we're still working on it. So we really want to get in touch with the insurance companies because I think they have a pretty large role as well. The banks do. What kind of loans can you get? All the farmers who have to give up their lands, they usually have pretty large loans. So what do they do about that? Insurance. With you, if you're in a flooding area, maybe you are not even able to get insurance. So there are some really important issues that the nature-based solutions might address. At least that's a part of what Lone was talking about, that we hope to get out of it. We have a collaborator, Invest for Nature, who's an environmental economist, Marianne Sanderson, who's been working with the socio-economic parts, which is quite an important part of it. And Lone has provided some data from one of the projects that's been, which is actually done yet. And I'll say a few words more about that a little later on, that there is a difference between social economics and financial economy. Can you put on the next slide? Because before we get to that, in Invest for Nature, we have an obligation to make workshops, and we've decided to made a workshop with banks and accountants and a few of the people that know something about finances in our company, and some of the people that Lone has been working together with, as she mentioned before. And we realized we actually had a whole day for a workshop, but we realized that there's so much knowledge that needs to be shared in order to actually really understand what we're talking about. So we spend a lot of the time on doing that, but did have a chance to get a workshop and hear a little bit about what the banks and accountants said. We agreed that actually the most important part was the bilateral meetings we had after the workshop, where we found out that what we aimed for in the workshop, actually networking, knowledge sharing, and inspiration, was quite important for them as well. And one more thing we realized was how concrete they are. They want us to be very specific about what kind of projects can you take us into? Is there something that where we can make an agreement? So there, you could say it's business life. So things move fast, hopefully. So that's a good realization for the next workshop that'll be in the fall, where we are having large companies, also the financial sector as well, because you could say the next workshop might be some kind of a pitch. We don't know if that's possible at all, but of course we are very interested in getting a relationship with the big companies, and maybe some of them would like to donate. That's basically what the money we get now. It's donations as it is, and since we have a limited amount of time, it's usually the big companies that we're able to talk to. But you can say SMEs are interesting as well. Just it's a little bit more difficult to reach out to, maybe through the banks, because one of the things that's the banks are talking about is, for instance, green bonds. Is that an option? We know that there are social bonds in the collaborations we're going into in Blossom, and is there a way to create cash flow? Because that's one of the things that the banks are talking about. Can you put the next slide on, please? Because what they are saying is, we have the environmental economist, Marianne Sanderson. She's talking about the value for the public. So it's a socioeconomics, it's the recreational value, it's a health value, but it's also a state value. So you could say that's more hard cash, where the banks are saying, where's the cash flow? Where's the return of interest? If we buy something, how can we get our money back, or make our customers earn something in this? And I would say at the moment, I would say that Lone and I and the Aarhus municipality are standing in between these two and hoping we can get ends to meet, because we know that donations at some point it'll be limited. So we do have big companies, we have foundations that do want to donate and who does donate in our area and in Denmark per se. But at some point, if we want to reach out to many people, we may need to find a way where it's possible to create a return of investment. And actually, the donation or investment is that question. I would say we came with a certain naivete to talk to the banks, because donations is one thing. It's someone who gives a sum of money. We call it investments, and we hear that a bit. But banks, when they talk about investments, they talk about return of investment. There needs to be a cash flow. So there is a clear separation between the two that I actually think we need to be aware of, because if we want donations, then that's what we're going to talk to companies, private investors about, or private companies about, actually. If we want an investment, then we need to figure out ways as where it's possible to create a return of investment. Yeah, and the next step in this work is going to be in the next. Yeah, it's fine with the next slide. The next step is with the EU Horizon project Blossom that is getting started just in a few days, actually. And just to sum it up, we can see that partners needs to be courageous, because sometimes you have to throw yourself into something that's new and maybe also a little dangerous due to talks about greenwashing. So you need to be aware. We know that it can be a really, really a big issue for some companies. So it needs a certain courage. And of course, it's partners who want dialogue, who wants to talk to us about what's to really wants to discuss these things properly with us, so that we have a partnership and not just two parties who go into this and who wants to develop. So I think that's one of the interesting things about this area, is that we're standing on the edge. So we're creating anew. So partners who go into stuff like this will need to be aware of that and understand it takes time. It does take time. So I know we can see that Poznan and Volkswagen. It takes time with the projects like this. We need trust partners who are trustworthy and who trust us and who want to contribute to nature. And what we offer is projects, real life projects. We have also the skills and competences in also municipalities. That's often in what it's like in the big municipalities in Denmark. Sometimes it's a bit harder for the smaller ones, but then there are other ways to deal with that. We can offer co-financing, which means that we actually have some ambitious politicians, and we can support the thinking of being innovative, and then we have trustability. And I've been thinking a little bit about barriers, but maybe there will be some questions, so we can talk a little bit about the barriers that we can see. Thank you for listening to us, and feel free to say questions, come with questions to us.
Thank you so much. Fantastic. I totally agree. You do need a little bit of courage to take that leap of faith and begin an investment, or a relationship with the city for these projects. Yeah, so we'll just open the floor now. You all can turn on your microphones, turn on your camera if you like. If there are any questions that come to mind, we would love to have a little bit of an open exchange. Oh, Susanna, yay. Yeah, I will. I mean, you can add anything you want. Oeas, I see that you were first, so we'll start with you, and then we'll go to you, Susanna.
Yeah, thank you. In the start, you said that in this project, you converted agriculture land to forest land, if I understand correctly, right? This is the case. So I wanted to ask, how did the farmers reacted to that? And what was the opportunity cost, lost or gain in this transition? Because I'm also involved in a project and we are trying to do the similar thing in Morocco, actually. And it's a Prima project, and we face a lot of resistance from the farmers. They are not willing to sacrifice their land because the opportunity cost for agriculture is more for them than the forest or a environmental point of view. So I just want to ask, did you face this kind of resistance or barrier, or how you tackle this issue? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. There's been a lot of dialogue through the years with the farmers. The municipality, the politicians of Aarhus have chosen many years ago that our drinking water should be produced locally. We should be able to deliver the drinking water to our citizens within our boundaries of the municipality. And that started 10 years ago, and that started a request to the farmers saying, if you have fields in certain areas that are vulnerable, where pesticides can go into the drinking water, you need to stop using pesticides. And we could do that by law. That was a possibility for the municipality. And of course, the farmers were furious. And that has been going on for 10 years. And now the water utility company says, well, instead of course, they were compensated for not using pesticides. But the farmers were traditional farmers. They didn't want to make a shift to organic farming. And now the water utilities company and us in cooperation, the municipality, we say, well, instead of not just using pesticides, we're able to actually provide you with a financing model that says you'll get the market price for the land. So the farmers are not happy, but they know that this request on securing our drinking water is not going to go away. And this is an exit for them, monetary exit with on market price for their land. That's the one part of it. So the farmers, I have two projects where we are in dialogue with farmers, and often the farmers with 60 or 65 years old, they say, this is an opportunity for me to get out. This is an opportunity for me to sell the land without any losses and with a good price. And that's why the financing models in these water and nature parks is so important, because if we didn't have the financing model, well, it would just be an appointment in the master plan. I think the other question you said is, well, what if everybody did that? What about the food security? And that's another discussion that is going on, that we have projects, but in Denmark we are 6 million people, but we have 25 million pigs. So more than half of Jutland is used to produce food for pigs. So there has to be a conversion from more plant-based diet. And that we support the farmers, have projects with the farmers associations about that. So that's, we can provide the same food on the same area, but on less area because we don't put it into pigs first. That's the thinking. And moreover, there is a national thing going on right now that the farmers have to contribute more into the whole society requests, for example, on nature, on securing our water environment, and so on. So it's a national issue as well.
Yeah,
I don't know if
delicate
that
balance.
was sufficient. Yeah.
I think that was such a great answer and great question. And I want to welcome to the floor. We have some really fantastic questions in the chat that I want to get to. But first, Susanna, I would love for you to respond a little bit about the insurance question, like kind of what Mette and Lone were saying, like how could an insurance or an insurer come on board in these kinds of projects? That would be super interesting for all of us to understand.
Absolutely. I also wanted to ask my own question to understand your current insurance landscape, because it can differ from country to country. I think insurance sector was mostly mentioned as an investor. I think there is also a lot of opportunity for insurance to come as, like a post-implementation management process in terms of very new innovative products such as parametric insurance are more and more used within NBS projects to basically ensure the natural infrastructure, the forest or the wetlands in case of fire, hurricanes, and because the parametric insurance offers a much quicker and simpler payout process. In some cases, such as the coral reef insurance, those funds are actively used not only to restore the reef after the claim, but also to fund conservation activities. And that's one of the ways that insurance can support such projects. But it can vary from country to country, and obviously sometimes not, let's say, not every partner within the project will be the party who buys insurance for the nature-based infrastructure. So I wanted to ask, what was your experience so far, and whether insurance or the role of insurance sector came up in some discussions, both
during the implementation of the project, but also in terms of how to, manage the land, the forest afterwards?
I can say something first. Part of the insurance issue came up with the socio-economic investigations, and it's still in progress, to be honest. So we don't know a lot about it, but we also realize that insurance companies has quite a pivotal role for the farmers, for instance, or for people who have estates around areas where there's flooding. That's one of the issues in Denmark. So if nature-based solutions are created that will reduce the risk of flooding, for instance, or maybe also fires. We don't have that many fires, but they do occur occasionally. So it's actually more in our heads at the moment. The idea of that insurance companies must have an interest in issues like that, and there must be something, because there has been in the media stories about areas where insurance companies no longer want to insure estates, for instance, due to the flooding. So there are issues there. We still we do have a contact with an insurance company, but we're still not breaking through to get a really relation to one. So basically, what we know is what we've kind of made up ourselves. You could say that sounds wrong, but what we found ourselves, and then from a couple of talks with a CEO, or not a CEO, but a director in an large insurance company. So I think that's the best we can answer at the moment, unless you have something to supply with. Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right. The purpose of many of nature-based solutions is actually to, decrease the risk, especially when it comes to flooding. And from my perspective, the main issue with actually seeing the change in approach of the insurance sector to, let's say, pricing, and that the risk mitigation is reflected in pricing, can be sometimes an issue of quantifying the measure and quantifying the actual impact of nature-based solution on flood management. And do you know if there are any data sharing initiatives maybe that could maybe to some extent mitigate this barrier, or somehow start a discussion that could potentially lead to better quantification of such projects as well?
It's actually quite interesting. I don't think I really have an answer, but that could be something that we could look into the next project where we are at the moment searching for what is it exactly, what kind of a project could be interesting in Blossom. So I think that is a very, very interesting question to investigate. Do you have some?
Well, I know my colleagues have implemented some NBS projects in the urban areas in Aarhus, dealing with flooding and preventing flooding. And I've seen some beautiful mapping and GIS scenarios and stuff like that. But the data, we'd have to dive into that. Because, I mean, I'm sure that whenever they make a project to prevent flooding, they have very good scenarios, map-based scenarios, saying, well, if we do that, we prevent this water to run into these places. So I'm sure the data is there, actually.
Okay, great. Super interesting. Thank you so much for this exchange. I learned a lot actually in just the last 5 minutes also about insurance. So I want to get to, we have about 5 minutes left, and I have just one more slide to share about our next Innovation Lab. But first, Etienne has two really interesting questions. And the first is, how do you solve the potential ethical discussion while working with private partners? Does that exist in your area? And Etienne, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, or if you wanted to also ask, your second question.
Well, it's just because you ask for barriers. For example, in Brussels, we have the problem because we have, very long debate on who we can work or not. So ethical debate regarding private sector. So we have no solution for that right now. So it's a real big barrier for Brussels, for example, to be able to work with private foundation or private company and to receive donations. So I don't know how you solve the problem in your case, and this is very interesting for us, of course.
Yeah. Well, I think what has helped us a lot is that we make partnerships with partners, trustworthy partners, and they are the ones that has the bridge to the private sector. So they have this connection. We don't have the connection to the concrete company that donates. So our way of handling that is that we have partnership with trustworthy partners that we trust to select the right donations. If you understand.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And who are those partners? Like, are they like community organizations or just folks that you know, or just to be super clear?
Yeah, one is the National Climate Foundation, which is a national foundation where private companies can donate money into. Another one is an organization, there are two organizations actually, called the Growing Trees Network and Plant a Tree, which is actually quite old organizations with a lot of philanthropy, is that the word? Based on philanthropy. And another is an old company, but they buy up the land themselves. So it takes time to make these partnerships. It takes a lot of talking and discussing on how to do the partnership. What can we say? What can't we say? What is how are we going to do it? So time is time consuming, but when you get these partnerships and the contracts in place, well, then you have a setup for many companies to donate into through these partnerships. Is it clear what I mean? That it's kind of a buffer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Etienne.
No. Okay, please go. Let's go.
I was just going to say that at ICLEI, we're in a similar situation, right? Like we're primarily we have a lot of Horizon EU grants, but we're looking to connect cities and philanthropic organizations, and through kind of foundation networks like you're talking about, like the National Climate Foundation, right? That connects private money to projects. And that's exactly the kind of relationships that we want to cultivate for our cities, for our city network, so that they can get these projects funded. So I think that's a really great point, that often tapping into these networks that can advise private folks or companies on where to invest for environmental projects is really a key step in securing some funding or some support. So I think that's really smart. So we have one final question, and Uchi, I'm sorry, I don't think we're going to get to it today, but it's a really, really good one about bringing these kind of nature-based solutions and, to combat climate resilience to developing countries. And so I will put some thought into that and get back to you personally. But what I would love to do, just to wrap up, is first of all, thank all of our wonderful presenters and speakers, and for all of you for being here. it was super interesting, and I'm really glad that we could share this time together. And just to share my last slide, so we do have one final innovation lab in our series of 3, and this one is really topical because it's a lot of what we've been talking about, this kind of pitch and exchange or pitch and match, where we'll present cities that have, or municipalities, peri-urban, urban, all of it, that have these MBS projects that they need funding for, or they need support, or are looking for partners. And so we want to showcase these projects and these ideas and locations, and then bring in our philanthropic friends to listen and give advice, and also potentially create partnerships. So it will be in July. Unfortunately, we haven't nailed down the date yet, but I will be in touch with everyone to let you know. And if you have a project, or if you're interested in participating, or know someone who might be interested, then please do get in touch with Lucia or myself, and we would love to have you there. So again, thank you so much. It's been great. I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and we'll see you in July, I hope. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.